strategic positions in the world, strategic waterways, strategic mountain passes. We are some of the richest people in the world. If you were to take a look at the top 10 rich people on earth, you'd probably see the majority are Muslims. But at the same time, we have poverty, terrible poverty. And in some cases, you have areas where Muslims are living in great wealth, and just over the border, there are other believers who pray to the same Lord, who give zakat, who fast in Ramadan, but yet they're starving to death. A serious contradiction. You have great armies. You could go to Muslim countries and find thousands of soldiers at arms, waiting for the command of their amirs. Even modern technological equipment. But yet, we have to continue to read the news about rapings and murders in Kashmir, destruction in Eastern Europe, humiliation and hypocrisy in Palestine. We have to continue to read this, and now the lies and the propaganda being spread around the world concerning Islam, although we have the capability to produce a type of technology that could rival the great liars. And so when we look at the sources, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu taqullaha wal tanzur nafsun ma qaddamat lighad wa taqullah. Inna Allaha khabirun bima ta'malun wa la takunu kal ladhina nasu Allaha fa ansahum anfusahum. Ulaika humul fasiqun. Allah has revealed to us, O you who believe, have the consciousness of Allah, and let every soul look to what it has put forward for tomorrow, and fear Allah. Surely Allah is well aware of all that you do. And be not as those who forgot Allah, and so He made them forget themselves. Surely they are the disobedient ones. They forgot Allah. They forgot the commandments. They forgot this beautiful Quran that was revealed to them. They forgot the sunnah and the example of the last messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, shining in front of their eyes. And so the wealth that they had did not feed their poor. The military strength that they had did not come to the rescue of the needy and the weak. A state of ghafla, a state of nisyan. And now a beast is looming in front of us. A modern emporium. An empire of the size that no record in history has recorded similar to it. But if we go back in time, we find that there were empires, there were leaders, who to a certain extent, in proportion, could rival and even outmatch the present day. They didn't have as many soldiers. They didn't have such terrible weapons, but their power was immense. And in the time of Pharaoh, he had irresistible power over his people. He had a terrible military force. But also the Pharaoh had the power of illusion, the power to create false images, to have his Sahara throw their staffs, to turn them into snakes. But the Pharaoh feared from amongst Bani Israel. He feared that somebody would come amongst their ranks who would supersede him. And his fault was, one of his great faults, this Pharaonic dynasty, is when they considered themselves to be gods on earth. When they put themselves in the position of God, when the Pharaoh wanted to have that divine worship, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them low and destroyed them from history. But if you reflect in the time of the Pharaoh, when the people came to him and they complained about Musa alayhi salam, and they said, what will you do with him? And so he said, and it is enshrined in Surah Al-A'raf, سَنُقَتِّلُ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ وَنَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ وَإِنَّا فَوْقَهُمْ قَاهِرُونَ. We will kill their young men and keep the women alive, for surely we have irresistible power over them. And so you see a parallel today. Kill the young men, destroy the leadership, especially amongst the men, put them in prison, shoot them in their knees like they do in Palestine, put something in the water, destroy them with false concepts of superiority. But keep the women alive, control the sexuality of the women, control the society through the cosmetics, through the false consumerism, and through the other false material concepts. But Musa alayhi salam, when this came to him, he returned to his people. قال موسى لقومه استعينوا بالله واصبروا إن الأرض لله يورثها من يشاء من عباده والعاقبة للمتقين. Musa alayhi salam answered and said to his people, استعينوا بالله واصبروا. Seek your help from Allah and have patience. This earth belongs to Allah, and He will give it to whom He pleases from His worshippers, His slaves. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And the best reward, the true victory in the end, is not military numbers. It is not weapons of mass destruction. But the true victory is for those who have taqwa, those who have the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so Musa alayhi salam set this trend. And we see it on the lips of all of the Anbiya. And we see the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam bringing it all together for us in a way that is valid and could be used by people in all nations. وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. But the shaitan, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, the opposite of this, who fights for the opposite of this, knows very well that the true victory is taqwa. That the true victory for the Muslims is to really have the consciousness of Allah. He knows this. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. May Allah protect us from his plots. And so we see a sophistication happening today, a sophistication rivaling the technology, a sophistication, a silent war being fought against the Muslims. And we need to be aware of what is going on. Musa alayhi salam spoke about the internal Muslim. He did not talk about the numbers on the outside. He talked about taqwa, the inside. The great scholars of Islam looked at this and looked at the opposites. And they found that the opposite of taqwa, that taqwa we see is al-khawf wa-raja'. It is a combination of fear and hope. And fear and hope stimulate you to go forward. But the opposite of this, anything which does not stimulate you, which keeps you stuck, which confuses you and makes you stagnated, is ghurur. It is deception. And of the great scholars, there are those who looked at ghurur and defined it for us and told us, كل ما يغر الإنسان من مال وجاه والشهوة والشيطان. Anything that can deceive a person from his wealth, his position, his desires, or the shaitan himself, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And so ghurur, this concept of deception, is an important concept that we need to look into. And when we are approaching many of the issues facing our ummah today, you need to look sometimes at the opposite, to deconstruct what is happening and then reconstruct. And so when we deconstruct unity, why are we not united? Why are we not brothers and sisters? Why are there so many jama'ats? Why are people fighting against each other? Why are people saying Quran and Sunnah? And you can go to so many societies and they say, I am the Sunnah society. I am the Quranic society. I am following Quran and Sunnah. And hating another Muslim. Destroying another Muslim.